If you're struggling to focus, the first thing I like to do is remember that I've got to work with my brain to stay focused. Now, the thing is that we forget that our brain is not meant for storing information. It's not meant for sort of remembering the task you're meant to be doing later on in the day, later that week, or those kind of like things that you feel like, oh, I should remember that. Get rid of the stuff in your brain before you try to focus on anything. The one thing I like to do is sit down for 5 minutes at the beginning of a day if I want to sort of like start off really focused and put down all of the things I should remember. Remember that your brain is there for being creative, it's there for coming up with new ideas, solving problems, not for storing information. So I like to have loads of scraps of paper all over the place that I just write stuff on if it pops into my mind. So first of all, I will sit down and I will write out for like 5 minutes what I need to remember, what is sort of like at the front of my mind, and any thoughts I have along the way. It doesn't matter, we're about spilling out, and that just is a signal to your brain that it can forget, it can let it go, and you free up more brain space for actually focusing, doing the problem, reading, studying, whatever it is. That's the first step. Also, as you are sort of like trying to focus, if something pops into your mind, quickly jot it down. All you need is a bit of paper and a pen next to you. I've always got it on my desk, and I will just jot something down, and that way I can say to my brain, all right, no worries, that's taken care of, let's move on. So step one is get the stuff out of your brain, not in like a hippie meditative way, in a literal spill onto a piece of paper. This video is brought to you by my newsletter. Go check it out at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter. The link is in the description, and when you sign up, you'll get 5 emails which will give you the perfect daily schedule, how to write an abstract, and much more. It's exclusive content available for free, so go sign up now. The second thing I think is really important about staying focused is taking care of the basics, and we always forget this. Now, I'm talking about the absolute fundamental basics of being a human. Go to the toilet. That is the number one thing that always makes me fidgety and lose focus. If I need a wee, if I need to do like a number 2, whatever it is, just sort of like solve that. Sometimes when I'm feeling a bit anxious, like a little bit kind of edgy, and I'm like, oh, why am I feeling weird? Sometimes it's as simple as having a wee. Honestly, it is the simple stuff that really makes a huge difference when you're trying to focus. So toilet yourself before you need to focus. That is my probably stupidest tip, but it's the most effective in this list. Okay, hunger. I always like to have a nice, healthy, energy-filled snack before I try to focus. This comes back to when I was doing my undergraduate chemistry degree, and I found that I would perform much better in an exam if I had a banana beforehand. About half an hour before the exam, I would eat a banana, and that would sort of like push me through the hour or 2 hour exam. Perfect. I do the same thing now. Now, sometimes it is just energy-fueled and not healthy, as evidenced by Caramello dairy milk chocolate right there. That happens very rarely, but when it happens a lot. Thirst. Make sure you have some water nearby. I love having water sat near me so I can always just sip at it. Being sort of thirsty is something that makes you lose focus very, very quickly. So once again, super basic tips, right? We're not reinventing the wheel here, but taking care of the basics is what a lot of people overlook before they sort of like go to other sort of more complicated things like apps and tools and tricks and methods and whatnot. Just take care of the basics first. Make sure that you're nice and hydrated. And secondly, warmth. Now, I live in Australia. So in Australia, I am either too hot or too cold. And I have a heater under my desk right now to help me. I have heaters, I have air conditioning units, I have everything. Having a nice environment to kind of like work in, if you're not shivering, if you're not too warm. I used to love finding in the library at my universities where I worked and studied the nice warm areas where I could revise or study and focus. So those simple basic things like the human aspects of staying focused cannot be overstated. You have to work really hard to make sure that all those are ticked off, and you'll be surprised that it just makes it so much easier. So take care of yourselves in the most basic way, and I can assure you your focus will improve. The third thing that sort of like comes into play when you're trying to stay focused is your environment. Control your environment to the max. Now, for me, the biggest thing was stopping myself going onto Reddit. If I can engineer my environment so that I can stay focused, perfect. Reddit does not work on this computer because I've blocked it on my router. So that is a way I had to kind of like intervene in my own life to make sure that I don't sort of get distracted while I'm doing stuff on this computer. Another thing I do is my phone is completely silent. I've talked about that in the past. Also, no notifications, and I've started to do this thing where I put my smartphone away at 5 p.m. at night and I don't look at it until about 8 or 9 in the morning the next morning. And having my sort of like free time, not being bombarded with information, really helps me focus. It's a way that I can control my environment and it really helps. Notifications, like I said, everything, phone and the emails and everything is on silent so I can actually focus. And importantly, a routine is another thing I found incredibly important for sort of staying focused or just doing any task in particular. So if I need to sit down for about an hour to 2 hours at my computer, the first thing I do is I make myself a cup of herbal tea. Now it seems silly, right? But once that kind of process starts, once I fill up the kettle, click the kettle, make myself a cup of tea, that is when everything kind of just falls into place and my brain goes into kind of the habit mode. It doesn't have to fight anything. The next step, it just kind of flows downhill because I've built up this routine, which means that then I sit down at my computer and I write, I turn off everything. It just makes everything so much easier. So it really is about manufacturing your environment and also the lead up to your focus times. Increasing your focus is a habit that you build on. So start with where you are right now and add 5 minutes, nothing more, and slowly increase that time over the next couple of months. Really, it will help a lot. It is not something that you can just sit down and do. Now, I tried to sort of like meditate. My meditation time was between 10 and 20 minutes, and I tried to do an hour, and it was agonizing. It was horrible, and it's because I didn't build up to it. Exactly the same with keeping your focus. Keeping your focus is about starting with where you are and building over like maybe 2 or 3 months to a much larger time. And then once you've built that muscle, it becomes so much easier. The last thing I want to say to you is always try your best to focus, but remember that your best will change every single day. Some days you'll nail it. You'll be like, I've just worked for 2 or 3 hours on this thing and I've just done it and I'm so proud of myself. And other days your mind will be busy. You won't have the right opportunities to set up the right routine. Something may go wrong in another part of your life that sort of like spills over into your ability to focus. And you just have to accept that your best changes every single day because of stuff that is outside of your control. So go easy on yourself. Remember that building focus on average, it happens kind of up like this. There's a noise that you need to sort of like look past. You know, one day you'll be excellent, next day not so good. But as long as the general trend of increasing your focus is upwards, that's all you're looking at. As long as 1 month in the future you can look back and say, you know what, now I can do like 45 minutes of focused work, whereas in the past I could only do 15. And be proud of that despite the noise that happened along the way. I think that's how you sort of do it in a nice way, where you teach yourself to like being focused rather than sort of being down on yourself and sort of being really sort of hard on your abilities right now. Just relax, let it build up over time, and remember that your best changes every single day. So there we have it. That's how you increase your focus. So there's everything I did to increase my focus during my undergraduate years, my postgraduate years, and my sort of career and entrepreneurial life afterwards. Let me know in the comments what you would add to that. And also go check out academiainsider.com. That's where I've got my 2 ebooks, PhD Survival Guide and the Ultimate Academic Writing Toolkit, as well as my Insider Forum. Go check them out because there's a great bundle price on those 2 ebooks at the moment. And I'll see you in the next video.